407 years ago, me and my friend Brian started the Doop movie podcast.
It does feel like it sometimes. I don't think it's been 87 years, though.
No. Yeah, that's what that means. A score is 20 years, just to educate y'all on all that.
Yup.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to the Doop Movie Podcast. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I almost started singing Hail to the Chief. We are deep diving into the Peter Siegel 1996 film My Fellow Americans.
Yeah.
Starring Jack Lemmon and James Garner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very much a 90s tribute to, like, the road movies.
Yeah.
Like the Bing Crosby and you know, Crosby and Nash and stuff like that.
Yeah, like think, Tommy Boy, but politicized, basically.
Interesting that you say that, because Peter Siegel also directed Tommy Boy.
Oh.
And 50 First Dates.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the screenplay was by E. Jack Kaplan, Richard Chapman, and Peter Tolan, who have done a lot of, like, sitcom TV work, especially in the 90s.
Okay.
The cinematography was Julio Macat, who did the cinematography for all 3 Home Alone movies.
Okay.
And for Ace Ventura and The Wedding Planner.
Yeah.
The first Ace Ventura, not the second one.
Okay.
And the score was by a dude named William Ross. And I don't know if you know who he is,
sounds
but
familiar.
you heard his music.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of movies, I don't know, Steel Magnolias?
Nope.
Or Stuart Little? Or Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets?
No, definitely not that one.
Yeah, no, nobody's ever heard of this little quaint little British film.
Interesting, though.
Yeah, no, he did the score for those, too.
Huh.
So, there's not a whole lot of score in this movie, but it fits the tone really well.
Okay.
This is... It's a movie about 2 former presidents.
Yes. Republican Russell P. Kramer of Ohio and the Democratic Mac Douglas of Indiana.
Right.
Kramer was president first, and then he lost his re-election to Douglas, so he only had one term.
Yeah, but they were rivals for their entire political careers.
Right, exactly.
Like, they ran against each other for Kramer's first term.
Yeah. And
then they ran against each other again, except this time Douglas won.
Yeah.
Right? And the opening speeches are really funny.
Yeah. Kramer was president first, and then he lost his re-election to Douglas, and then Douglas lost his re-election to Haney,
who was Kramer's vice president.
Which is, basically...
And played by Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, pretty great.
And really well. Really leans into his southern accent.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, not a lot of his films really do that, actually. And this one really does.
Yeah.
So basically, it goes through those time skips. 4 years, and then 3 years into Haney's, first term as president. Haney invites both Kramer and Douglas to a funeral.
Right.
Which I forget who the funeral is for. It's probably some general or something along those lines.
Yeah, he was on the Joint Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because in Kramer's speech, he talks about when I appointed him to the Joint Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right.
And this movie is full of little one-liners and quips and jokes, and we're not going to go through all of them.
Right.
Just be aware that as we go through the plot of this movie, they're going to try to make you laugh. There's a really high JPM for this movie, like jokes per minute.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is like a term from I learned from watching like commentaries on Simpsons episodes.
Yeah.
But
like if you need to write this episode, you need to have this many JPM pretty much.
Right.
Like just so that way, we can. Like, a lot of them are going to hit, and a lot of them aren't going to hit. And that's the rules of comedy, pretty much.
In the 90s, Dan Aykroyd was not at the height, because he was more of an 80s leading man.
Yeah.
But he was still really popular.
Mm-hmm.
But Lemmon and Garner were both older.
Yeah.
They were like 60s and 70s era leading men. And this was kind of their swan song.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Aykroyd's trying to like make a comeback for a career.
Mm-hmm.
Which, on a $21.5 million budget, it made back like $22.3.
Yeah. So
it made money, but it wasn't like a massive success.
Right.
Although interestingly, this movie was a parody of the then current very public feud between President Bill Clinton and President George W. Bush.
Really?
Or George H.W. Bush, the first one.
Right. Yeah.
They have since reconciled their differences and become friends and started working together on like climate change and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But which kind of foreshadowed by the film.
Yeah. Actually.
But the most of this movie was filmed in the same state where we are recording this podcast, here in North Carolina.
Yeah, I know. That was crazy, isn't it?
Out near like Asheville and stuff.
Yeah. At some point, both Kramer and Douglas, they do different things. After their presidencies, Kramer writes some books, like a cookbook and so on and so forth.
He writes like 12 books or something about his time at the helm.
Yeah.
And he takes a lot of like speaking engagements. Like anyone who will pay him to come and speak at their event,
pretty much
come and do it.
Yeah, like he did it for like an insurance company, this Japanese insurance company at one point in time, and there was this guy dressed in a little panda outsuit, and then like was dancing with him. He didn't take kindly to that. And then Douglas has been working on his like one book basically. Like he's been working on like his memoir pretty much, or like what he wants to do for the nation pretty much.
He wants to write a book about his time in office, but he's talking to his editor who he is sleeping with.
Right, of course.
And he's in the process of a divorce from his wife.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, "So you haven't mentioned my book?" And he's like, it was pretty stinky, right? The latest draft. And she's like, "Well, I mean, I'm your editor, and it was really stinky.
Yeah.
You kept talking about what you wanted to do and what you tried to do, and not so much what you did." Mm-hmm. And he's like, and Douglas is like, well, I didn't do much. Yep. How's that for honesty?
Yeah.
Right. And that will get echoed later in the film, in a way that kind of hits home. There's one moment that really hits home for each of the two characters.
Yeah.
Because they do not like each other.
Yeah.
Right. But they get sent to this funeral, and they're just quipping back and forth.
Yep.
And then like at like a gala after the funeral, right? There is Joe Hollis, who is the DNC chairman, the Democratic chairman, played by Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, it was great, actually. Yeah. I love Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, he's really good in he's only in a couple of scenes, but he's really good in the scenes he's in. He's the guy with diabetes. That dude. Yeah. Anyway, he talks about how there's a scandal about to blow up called Olympia.
Yep.
And that Haney's involved, but that he's trying to shift the blame to Kramer.
Right, which, Haney didn't even really know about it. His chief of staff, Carl, let him
Carl
know.
Wittenauer.
Yeah,
played by...
Bradley Whitford?
Yes, Bradley Whitford. Sorry, I have it written down. I'm looking at it, and I cannot say it. The words will not come out.
Yeah. But yeah, because Haney was bicycling on his little exercise bicycle. It was like, I don't like being
interrupted on the bike.
On the bike, what's going on? And he let him know about the Olympia scandal. And,
he's like, the Democrats might have some damaging information about Olympia.
Yeah, pretty much.
Olympia is a defense contractor named Charlie Reynolds.
Yeah.
Offered a kickback to Haney
right.
for some defense contracts.
Yeah.
When Haney was vice president.
Yeah.
Well, now Haney's trying to say that Kramer's the one that took the kickback.
Yeah.
He's trying to shift the blame on it.
Yeah.
Right. And Reynolds is going along with it, being coerced by Wittenauer and Wittenauer's, goon, Tanner, who is the
Colonel
Colonel Paul Tanner, played by Everett McGill, and he's part of the NSA, right, So they're playing golf, and what Douglas has been told is that the party would support him for another run of the presidency.
Yeah, he's considering this.
If he can blow open this scandal.
Yeah.
Right? So they're all playing golf now. It's some sort of charity golf game.
Mm-hmm.
And Kramer and Haney are in the lead. And Douglas, he hits a really nice shot. And he's like, well, it looks like Douglas is coming back from behind.
Yeah.
And Haney goes, you'll never catch us. And he goes, no, but I think I'll catch one of you.
Yeah.
And then he goes and he has this meeting. He finally finds out who it was. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Reynolds? Sorry.
Yeah, Charlie Reynolds.
Played by the James Rebhorn or Rebhorn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, he goes to have a meeting with him, and he's like, I know what your official story is that you had the meeting, but tell. Who was it? Was it Haney or was it Kramer? Please tell me it was Kramer. Yeah. If it was, I'll give you a big kiss on the lips. Tongue, no tongue, your choice.
Yep.
It's just a really funny line delivery.
Yeah.
He sticks to the no comment line, like the I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
At this moment.
Yeah.
But anyway, they're at like a book signing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a book signing deal. That's where you find out about Kramer's cookbook, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And
Reynolds' assistant comes up to Douglas and says, would you sign this for my daughter?
Right.
And he opens it, and it's a note from Charlie that says, meet me here at this place.
Yeah.
And he looks her right in the eye and he says, I'd love to.
Yeah.
And so he slips away from his Secret Service and he goes to meet Charlie. I'm getting into the plot here because I love this movie, and you're the one supposed to be doing plot. I'm sorry.
So he goes outside.
That's my fault.
He goes outside. He sees Reynolds in the car, the meeting place that was discussed during the thing, and then somebody's coming up behind Douglas, and he serves him a subpoena, basically. Right. You know, it's like, oh, great, this is wonderful. You know,
it's his ex-wife.
Yeah, his ex-wife's subpoena is being served at this very exact moment when an assassin pulls up right beside and shoots Charlie, you know, basically.
Yeah.
But Douglas gets in the car, not even knowing that he was shot until after he sits in the car. And I was like, oh, well, shit. I'm already caught in the woodworks of this now, you know, and then Kramer shows up.
Yeah, because he's been tipped off, too.
Yeah, he's been tipped off about this, and then he was like, oh, what's going on here? And then they both have to pretty much escape that situation, otherwise they're both going to be, you know, put under fire about this assassination, you know, against Charlie Reynolds. At some point, they meet up, they discuss the details, and then, you know, Colonel Tanner shows up, and then he was like, hey, we need to get you both out of here, so he puts them...
Well, no, they go to Kramer's house.
Yeah.
To his daughter's house out in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Or West Virginia. And they're discussing what to do about it, and Kramer's grandson wants him to play with him, and hands him a water pistol and says, you gotta chase me. Yeah. Okay, I'll count to 100 and walk away. Yep. 100, 99, 90, okay, where were we?
Right.
And so Tanner shows up, he's like, you know, we're the NSA, it's our business to know where you are at all times.
Yeah.
You're needed at a summit, the president is sending you to Camp David, right? You know, Marine 1 is going to pick you up, the helicopter.
Right, yeah.
So they get on the helicopter.
Yeah, they get into the helicopter, and then at some point, with everything else, it's like they kind of request permission. It was like, you know, we're passing all these places pretty much. Where are we going?
Well, I don't remember the trip to Camp David taking this long.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what's up with this?
And I was like, oh, well, my boss is telling me I can't tell you anything. And I was like, what are you talking about? Your bosses, so on and so forth. You know. And then,
sorry, my orders are classified. Talking to the pilot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then so they absconded the plane, and of course, you know, Kramer has a water pistol that he has from this game with his grandson. You know, that was a nice little effect. You know,
so they force the helicopter to land.
Yeah, they have to land the helicopter first. They both leave, and then Kramer is discussing details with Douglas. It was like, we need to, you know, try to achieve some records from like my library, so on and so forth. It's at the Presidential Library in Ohio.
Yeah,
we'll see
in Akron.
We'll see if we can get them to drive us over there, or, you know, to fly us over there, and then boom, the helicopter explodes. Yeah, pretty much. You know.
Yeah, he's like, do you realize we never even had to leave the chopper? You got their gun.
Yeah.
We could have just made them take us wherever we wanted to go. And so they start waving, you know, get down, and the chopper explodes. And then he's like, I guess they're down.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So they're on foot. And
it's a good night to walk to Ohio.
Yeah, pretty much. From the East Coast, I would assume. But
yeah, well, they're in supposedly somewhere in Virginia.
Yeah. One of the Virginias,
or North Carolina,
somewhere along those lines.
Well, I mean, later on, they get on a train full of UNC students.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice little nod, you know, for somebody from North Carolina to see that. But they're in the bathroom. There's this little scene with this random fan in between the two past presidents, pretty much.
And that's kind of a running theme in these movies, that people are smitten whenever they see Douglas and Kramer together, because it's two former presidents of the United States.
That they hate each other, pretty much, famously. And, it's like they're traveling together. Like, that's weird in and of itself. But there's this Elvis impersonator that meets him in the bathroom. You know, it's like, who are you guys? And I was like, oh, yeah, Kramer and Douglas. Like, yeah, okay, funny.
I know who you're trying to be. Who are you really?
Yeah, because he thinks that they're impersonators. So,
So I'm Sam and this is Blinky.
Yeah, pretty much. And so they both, they both go with Elvis to be on this train.
Which is going to Cleveland.
Yeah, going to Cleveland, Ohio, which is, kind of pretty close to where the Presidential Library is.
Yeah.
The NCAA train. At some point, they realize that the NSA is following them again, so they jumped off the train, which, I mean, I know, this is a comedy, it's fine, but I'm not convinced that, 70-year-old men are jumping off of this train and not being, heavily injured.
This is one of my favorite jokes in the film. Like I said, we're not going to go into every quip. We've skipped over hundreds of jokes at this point.
Yes, we will.
But this one I really like. When Kramer is hesitating to jump, Douglas is like, "Oh, come on! It's all wheat fields and stuff. It's the amber waves of grain." And so he shoves him out of the train.
Right.
And then he jumps after him. And then Kramer's the first one to get up. And he's like, Douglas, where are you? And he goes, I'm over here, you dick. Mm-hmm. And he sits up and Kramer goes, amber waves of grain in my ass. Or my fanny. And Douglas goes, I think I got a piece of Purple Mountain's majesty up my ass. That line always makes me just die.
Yeah.
James Garner's delivery of that line is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go ahead. So they've leapt off the train.
Yeah, they left off the train at some point. Then they go to this station. There's this trucker that picks them up, and then the trucker gets pulled over by this helicopter at some point. And I was like, what's the point? Like, I don't understand why this helicopter is pulling over this trucker. And then you see in the back of the, because she was saying that she was,
hauling farm equipment.
Hauling farm equipment, which, in her truck were a lot of, Mexicans.
Yeah, basically illegal immigrants, border jumpers.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is, that's whatever. I mean, yeah.
Well, so INS is driving the helicopter.
Right.
And they're like, this is the Immigration Nationalization Service.
Right.
And please stay where you are. And the illegal immigrants scatter.
Yeah.
They start bolting into the woods. And then the NSA chopper shows up.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And he's like, you are interfering with an INS mission. You are interfering with a classified NSA mission. He's like, well, I'm not going to leave until you verify your authority. And he shoots a missile past the dude's front. He's like, authority verified. Have a nice night.
Yeah.
But they're running away.
Mm-hmm.
And the presidents. And this kid named Ernesto is like, hey, senor, go ahead down here, in like this drainage like tube.
Right.
And so they're hiding in the this drainage tube, and he's like, I've come to this country 4 times, I've tried already, I love this country so much.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, you know who that kid is?
Yes, I do. I recognize him. He's what's his name? He's been in a lot of other movies. He was in Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm. He's Michael Pena.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, Michael Pena. He's the dude from Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's real funny. Funny guy. And I think this was one of his, if not his first role, it was one of his earlier roles.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. Because he's only like 14 in this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah.
But anyway, Douglas gives him his coat because he's cold, right? And so he gives Douglas a compass. Mm-hmm. He's like, I've used it to come here several times. It's my lucky compass. You give to me, I give to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so he runs away, and the INS chases after Ernesto because he's wearing Douglas's coat.
Right.
And so Kramer and Douglas can slip away.
Yeah.
Right? So it's now, not only are they on the run from, the NSA.
Right.
Now they know the NSA is perfectly willing to, completely F up anything around them.
Pretty much.
You know.
Yeah, like shooting at other,
shooting at another American government helicopter.
Right. Yeah. Like that. Like that's in and of itself. At some point they managed to get to a camp with like some fans, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's this family who are camping in the woods.
In the daytime. This was nighttime, and now it's it's passing over into the daytime pretty much.
Yeah, they walked all through the night.
Yeah, and they get this getaway car, which is the family's car, and then they turn around to pick up the rest of the family because the baby was still in the car.
Yeah, there was still a baby in the car. He's like, and we can make it to Akron in about 6 hours if we don't run into any more trouble, which I predict we won't.
Yeah. So they turn back around and pick up the rest of the family, and like it kind of hits on with a couple of other different themes of this film, like with the family struggles, so on and so forth, like between both of their presidential runs, like how that affects the people itself.
We lost our jobs because of your cutbacks, President Kramer, and we lost our home because of your economic downturn, President Douglas.
Right. And
now our only hope is a thin chance of a job at a paint factory in Ohio.
Right.
And they say the guy gets the dad of the family gets like some American history wrong.
Yeah.
Right. He says Mount Rushmore was a natural monument and had like Davy Crockett on it or something.
Right.
And Douglas just lays into him about it.
Yeah.
He's like, that kind of ignorance is dangerous.
Yeah.
And they're like, get out of my house. We didn't invite you into our car. We invited you into our home.
Right.
Leave.
Right.
So they do. and that now they have to rent a car.
Mm-hmm.
And this is earlier on the train. Remember, I said each of the two had like a moment where it kind of hit home. On the train earlier, they were pretending to be presidential lookalikes.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about the real quote unquote Matt Douglas.
Right.
And this is the Democrat Douglas. This is James Garner.
Yeah.
And he's talking to some co-ed, and she's like, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I actually had a thing with the real Matt Douglas once.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, really? And she's like, yeah, we were at a 4th of July do, and we did. And he goes, if you don't mind me asking, how was he? And she goes, well, it was a lot like his presidency. There was a lot of talk leading up to it, but in the end, he didn't do much.
Right.
Right? And there's like this moment of,
because he said that earlier in the movie whenever he was talking about his book.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do much.
Yeah.
And this is the callback. And it really kind of hits home. And now they're in this small town where this family has left him behind.
Right.
Kramer walks into this like mom and pop diner, and the old dude behind the counter tries to give him a piece of pie. Because Kramer's like, how much is that pie? He's $1.50. I don't have that much.
Right.
So, it's on the house, old man. Excuse me?
Yeah.
I said it's on the house, old man.
Yeah, like somebody doesn't obviously recognize him,
Yeah. And then he like looks in the mirror, and that's when he realizes, I am an old man.
Yeah.
What have I done? And so this is his moment of, oh shit, like real people are people, not like statistics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Some point they go over to Douglas calls Joe to kind of give him an update of everything that's going on with the investigation.
Yeah, Joe Wilford Brimley.
Yeah. And my next note after that, I don't know if they haven't met Joe yet. Yeah, because the next thing that I made up with
is the parade, right?
Yeah, is the West Virginia Gay Men's Coalition, which they kind of like find themselves walking in the middle of without realizing it.
Yeah, because the NSA tapped Joe's phone,
right,
and so now they know where the presidents are.
Yeah.
Right, and so they show up to try and arrest to get the presidents, and they manage to escape.
Yeah.
By running through an alley after a car chase, and like joining a gay pride parade.
Yeah.
Right, and one of the guys is like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And Douglas is like,
"Oh, we come to these things all the time."
I'm a big supporter of gay rights. They go, "Are you coming out?" He goes, "Oh no, I've always supported gay rights." He's coming out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he hands Kramer a necklace of like different colored like tin pop can pops tabs.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a freedom ring necklace. Wear it with pride. Yeah. Don't be afraid of who you are. And Kramer's like, sure, okay. Like he has no idea.
Yeah.
So the NSA starts coming into the parade as well. So they kind of rush forward into a marching band.
Yeah.
That is the all Dorothy marching band, like Dorothy Gale from Kansas.
Yeah.
From Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, they kind of like are hiding behind this guy playing a trumpet, and he's like, what's wrong, ladies? And so they explain, unless your magic slippers can get me to Akron,
right?
You can't really help us. Yeah. And he's like, well, I don't have any magic slippers, but I know some people who can help.
Yeah.
And this is where one of the visual gags for the movie falls flat nowadays.
Right. But I'm sure during the time frame it was probably like a guffaw, Yeah,
it cuts to
the Dykes on Bikes.
Dykes on Bikes motorcycle gang, and they're driving them to Ohio. Yeah. Right? Now that word is a slur.
Yeah.
And we should have offered a trigger warning before we said it, but at the time in the mid 90s, ethnic slurs were being. There was a trend of people trying to reclaim them.
Ethnic / social slurs.
Yeah, so like the N word, and the F word referring to a homosexual person,
right?
Or the D word referring to a lesbian, right? Yeah, people were trying to use it and try to take away the stigma from it.
Yeah,
because there was for a while people thought we couldn't stop others from using it.
Yeah.
So this joke doesn't land as well now as it did, 30 years ago.
Right.
But it's for the time period. It did not raise any eyebrows.
Right. Yeah. Right. And not the current term is a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the generally accepted term.
Yeah. But the one thing they say And part of the reason that I give this movie kind of a pass on it is because they really address it. When they get to the library, Kramer, the Republican, is like, I think I've changed my stance on an important issue. The military could use some of those ladies.
Absolutely.
We need to, so because at the time there was Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still in place, and you could not be LGBTQ in the military at all. Yeah, like you were discharged if you were found to be gay in any way. And that has since been repealed. Yeah. That has since is no longer the thing, but at the time that was still kind of an injustice that was happening. Yeah. And the movie makes a point of having the Republican, the person who ostensibly would have been for this Don't Ask, Don't Tell, saying, no, this is bad. We need to fix this.
Yeah, exactly. And
I thought that was a good moment.
It was very progressive, especially for something in the mid '90s to make a stance on that. Yeah, they finally get to the library.
This is where they find that the library records have also been altered.
Yeah, because they tried to go to the separate
Library of Congress.
The Library of Congress to grab like some sort of because he keeps tracks of his meals, so on and so forth, and like he has to make sure that like I remember that day, and I definitely didn't have lunch with Reynolds.
Haney was there at that lunch with Reynolds, but Reynolds was saying it was just me and him. Yeah. And that's not true, and the lunch records will prove it. Well, the Library of Congress had been altered. Yeah. And now the presidential library, they find, has also been altered. Right. So this is when they run into Ben, the security guard who works at the presidential library. Yeah. And another really funny line is after they explain to Ben what's going on, they're like, Ben, can we use your truck? And he goes, do I have a choice? No. Well, then I guess it's okay. Yeah. Just this there's a lot of really quippy delivery in this movie, and it's just top notch, in my opinion. Yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah, my next note is Kathleen Taylor, Reynolds' secretary, left a note for Kramer, and then they use this note basically to meet up with Joe and like kind of like get some information.
No, they don't go to Joe yet.
Okay, they go to Whitnauer because you have to catch Carl first. Yeah. Carl is caught. And then,
this is Bradley Whitford. Who got his role on The West Wing because of this film. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he's Haney's chief of staff, Carl Whitnauer, and he's the one who's been given Tanner his marching orders.
Yeah, but now Tanner's kind of like it's like, oh well, he's really crazy. He's kind of going off the deep end here.
We were about to find that out. Right. They get Carl. Yeah. And they basically kidnap him and take him to Joe's house, Joe Wilford Brimley's house. Yeah. And Joe pulls out a sewing needle and Whitnauer is blindfolded. Yep. He's like, now the boys gave me, my CIA contacts didn't tell me the dosage on this drug, right? But they said to just kind of go nuts. So we're both in some new territory here. Let's see how it goes. And he starts to put the sewing needle in Whitnauer's arm, and Whitnauer, who is just a pansy, is just like, I'll talk, oh God. Yeah. This is when you find out that that Tanner has quote unquote gone rogue. Yep. Right, and he ordered the deaths of the presidents. He ordered the death of Charlie. He's the one that's been causing all the trouble. Yeah.
Next note, Joe calls Kay.
Kay Griffin, played by Cilla Ward. Okay. She was the news anchor.
That's right.
She's a Fox News anchor. In her introduction, it's really funny. She walks up at the shindig where they talk about the Olympia scandal. Mm-hmm. She walks up to Kramer, and she's like, President Kramer. And he's like, oh, Kay, how's my favorite TV news reporter? And she goes, I thought Barbara Walters was your favorite TV news reporter. She is. How is she?
Yeah, it was cute.
Oh, God, that was funny. So they call Kay. He calls Kay to, like, we've got a confession from Whitnauer on tape.
Yeah. Right. That's on tape. So, so we have it right here.
Yeah, we're going to go public.
We're going to go public with it. And then Kramer and Douglas is like, you know what? We're just going to go to the White House anyway. Because that was supposed to be like the alternative plan.
Yeah, see, they're talking about waiting for Kay. Yeah. And Douglas pulls out the compass that Ernesto gave him, and it's pointing to the television, which is showing a picture of Haney giving a speech at the White House. Right. Right. And he's like, no, change of plans. Yeah. We're gonna bust Haney for this because Haney's gonna cover it up again. Yeah, I mean, some little fish like Whitnauer's might get put away, but Haney's gonna get away. The big fish will get away. Right. So they decide they're gonna go to the White House and confront Haney. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, they go to the White House, And then they're snuck in by Rita the cook, the one they were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, they were talking about Rita, like, oh God, I miss Rita.
She's the greatest cook ever.
She was played by Esther Roll,
okay,
who was in Driving Miss Daisy and To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She's been an actress for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is a nice little role for her.
Yeah, she has them in the back of her car, but whenever she drives up to the White House, the guy checking, all the cars coming through and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, I got some groceries back there. Help yourself, So I was sort of inviting him to go. She's like, oh, no, I believe you. You're good.
Yeah, you're Rita. You're fine.
You're Rita, you Rita, you make the best, what was it? What was it that the guy was asking him?
Some of your cookies.
Yeah, some of your cookies. And, it's like, oh, well, I'll have to,
after I attend president,
I'll see what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go through.
And they use the tour, the White House tours.
Yeah.
And they kind of use the cover of the tour to try to get into the West Wing. To try
like, hey, you want to get a tour from two past presidents?
Who knows this place better than we do?
Yeah, it's crazy. And basically they use the tour as like a kind of a way to kind of like find out where the NSA are and then like how to escape them, so on and so forth. And they find this. They eventually find this room and they're trying to discover.
It's the Lincoln bedroom.
Like where's this hidden room, like hidden spot, pretty much.
It's the Lincoln bedroom. And it's they get trapped in there, and they wind up having to bar the door.
Yeah,
because the NSA is after them.
Right. And
Kramer is feeling around on the walls, and Douglas is like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I heard from one of the Secret Service guys that there's a tunnel that leads out of this room that leads outside. They called it the Kennedy Tunnel." Mm-hmm. And Douglas goes, "Oh, yeah, it's over here. I almost forgot."
Yeah,
like because he used to.
Yeah, because he has used it. Yeah.
And another really funny bit was talking about. I used to use this for some late night rendezvous. And he's like, I don't need to hear about all your conquests. Well, she was also a contortionist. Mm-hmm. Go on.
Yeah. They ended up using that. My next note kind of spoils some things, but basically they make their way to the lawn and they steal the horseback guards. Yes,
ceremonial guard.
Right.
They steal his horses.
Yeah, they steal the horses, and then somebody has them in plain sight and line sight, pretty much.
Yeah, because there's snipers on the roof to protect the White House. And Tanner is shouting into the radio, shoot him, that's not the real presidents. Because at this point, they've released the story that the chopper went down and the presidents have died in North Carolina. Right? So, the sniper is pointing his gun, and he sees these two guys riding on horseback.
Yeah.
And he zooms, he looks a little closer, and hanging out of the back pocket of Kramer's suit is the Freedom Ring necklace that was given to him.
Yeah.
He goes, that is the real president. Mm-hmm. And he pulls his gun around real quick, and Tanner has got into position, and he's got him in his sights, and he's starting to squeeze the trigger, and that's when you hear the sniper's gun blast, and then Tanner falls to the ground dead.
Yep. So obviously
the sniper shot Tanner.
Yeah, the sniper that confirmed their identity is the one who saved their life, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then, after that situation, I think Kramer or Douglas, I don't remember which one. One of them goes up to Haney and is like, "We need to talk."
Yeah.
I want to say it was Douglas.
It was Douglas because Kramer couldn't get off the horse.
Yeah.
Kramer's like, when we're done with this promise, we'll go back and look for my balls.
Yeah.
Somebody collect Blinky.
Yeah, jumping up on the horse, that's probably going to hurt that so much. But let's go and talk. They go inside the White House, and
they basically they talk to Haney about it. They're like, look, we know what you did. We know what's going on here. Yeah.
Well, he has to thank the sniper, too.
Yeah. So the sniper, whose name is Ralph Fleming.
Yep.
And he's played by a guy named Jeff Yeager. Okay. And they're like,
thank you for saving our lives.
He's like, it's an honor to meet you. He goes, oh, we've met before, sir. Oh, really? Where? Mm-hmm. Somewhere over the rainbow.
Yeah.
And then it kind of does the little musical sting from Wizard of Oz, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was a very progressive message for this too. Like having somebody from that that coalition, be the man that saves your life. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like they're everywhere.
Yeah. And he, I know you did not mean it that way, but that sounded so unintentionally menacing.
No, I know they're everywhere.
I
know what you mean.
LGBTQ people are just normal people.
Exactly.
And they're all over the world because their people are people.
Yeah, people are people. Yeah, that's the end.
So they talk to Haney, and Haney's like, I've got money, so what do you want? And So they basically tell Haney, either we're going to go public and you're going to go to jail, or you can resign.
Right.
Right. You're out of this office one way or the other.
Yeah.
So Haney decides he's going to resign.
Yeah.
He makes up some excuse about heart problems.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when they're leaving. And they're in their own cars with their own Secret Service details talking to him.
Right.
I can't believe you guys went through that. And he goes, yeah, it was pretty bad. But you did all you could do, sir. Your country thanks you. And this is where Douglas looks at the compass again, and it's pointing at the White House again.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I didn't do all I could do.
Yeah.
And so he goes, he meets up with Kramer one last time, and he's like, I recorded the conversation with Haney. Let's go to the press. Mm-hmm. Or no, they go to meet up with the vice president. I'm sorry, I'm skipping that part.
I ought to say, because that's the biggest point of it. The one who is really behind everything.
Yeah.
Matthew's got Carl and Tanner in line. This vice president,
Ted
this
Matthews.
idiot.
Yeah, throughout the film, he has done the stupidest stuff.
He even made the dumbest joke in the whole movie.
Yeah, one of the most insensitive jokes too. But it was made to be that way because he is completely insensitive. Absolutely. Talking about they're at that golf game. Yeah. And he's talking to
early in the film.
Yeah, he's talking to a black guy who is there.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm glad you're here and playing the game of golf. It's good that us white people have a sport because you guys are good at so many sports. But I think you're not good at golf because you can't get into the clubs, the restricted ones.
Yeah, I know.
And Wittenauer walks up to him and is like, "Sir, you need to come with me. Is there a problem? There'll be less of one if you come with me, sir."
Yeah, exactly.
So he's
like it's made to be like that. It's not like that. That's the film making a stance.
Yeah, the film is not the film is definitely not taking a racist stance.
Right.
It's just pointing out that Ted Matthews, played by John Hurd, is a dumbass.
Yep.
So they go to confront Matthews, and they're like, "We figured it out. We knew it was you all along."
Yeah, because obviously, if Haney's gonna, resign, he's gonna be president now.
Yeah.
And
the only way that idiot would ever become president is if Haney was assassinated or if he resigned. Oh shit! And that's when they go talk to him.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You're right. Gentlemen, this has been a real coup." He goes, people always think I'm this big dumb idiot. Imagine if they only knew it was all a big facade.
Yeah.
And what he meant was facade.
Right.
Like, he really is stupid.
Yeah.
But he did sort of mastermind this whole thing.
Yeah.
And so they're leaving because they're kind of like, he's on TV reluctantly accepting his charge and so forth and so on. Right. And Douglas goes, you know what gives me the red ass? Mm-hmm. He almost got away with it.
Yeah.
What do you mean almost? And he holds up the tape recorder. He's like, "You recorded him?" And Douglas, in a nod to Kramer, who had said this earlier, said, "I learned from the master."
Right.
So they get in, they drop it off with the reporter, and then we're in the final montage of the film, right? Where Ted Matthews goes to jail, and now Douglas and Kramer have decided that they can fix the problems they caused. They're going to run together.
Right.
As on an independent ticket.
Yeah.
And they have not announced who's going to be president and who's going to be vice president yet.
Right, which is funny.
Which turns out to be the final joke of the film.
Yeah.
But it ends on these two political enemies who hated each other's guts for years, being friends, realizing they can do more good than they did.
Yeah.
And trying to go back in and fix the problems and do the good they could have done the first time around.
Yeah. It's good. It's good for them to learn that throughout their journey, with the family and so on and so forth. Interactions with the LGBT community and seeing that they are also heroes, along with the rest of them.
And not a hero because he's gay,
right?
A hero
just in general, just because you're
he's
a person.
just a hero,
just
who happens to be gay,
right? Yeah. It's not like the defining feature of it,
Yeah.
Want to drive that home too.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. I didn't really enjoy this film that much all the way throughout, because there was a lot more misses than hits for me in terms of the humor. But I enjoyed this more than Million Ways to Die in the West, so it's definitely not my least favorite film that we've covered so far. But I don't know, it actually has a structured storyline, and there are themes that are proposed without this. I love Jack Lemmon. Jack Lemmon is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But I'd probably give this a 5.
Really?
Yeah, I'd give this a 5.
See, I'm. This is one of the ones where our opinions really differ. I found, aside from a couple of outdated jokes, a lot of the humor was spot on.
Yeah.
A lot. Such an easy lay for banter.
Mm-hmm.
Quick-witted, back and forth dialogue is just the best thing in the world to me. I love like the original MASH.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this movie is just chock full of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many quips and one-liners. And that's what the movie is for. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be funny, and it really, really is. Like, I have watched this movie probably 1,000 times, and every time I laugh hard at several scenes.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
I would solidly give this movie an 8.
Yeah.
Maybe 7.5 if but I really can't think of any flaws with the film.
Right.
Like, specifically, I can't think of anything they did wrong.
No, and it doesn't really. They don't really do anything wrong per se.
Yeah.
It's just. Why would I watch a comedy that didn't make me laugh?
Yeah, no, I get that. You're perfectly valid.
Yeah.
We are allowed to have different opinions.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy who is much more into the banter and easy layup comedy like that. I honestly, I don't think I know what your preferred version of comedy is. Maybe I just like comedy more than you do as a film premise.
I mean, I like comedies. I mean, I don't know which way you could sanction this off. We could probably talk about this on a different, date and time.
Yeah.
Maybe like as an example. I mean, I don't know.
Like, what would be a really, really good comedy in your opinion? Just I know we're not deep diving another film right now. Just
right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Ghostbusters is ranks pretty highly on my flick chart list.
Okay.
I really enjoy Pineapple Express and Superbad, like some of those eras of films,
okay.
like Judd Apatow sort of comedies.
Right.
They just kind of hit more home for me than my fellow Americans would.
So you like more silly comedy than dry wit comedy?
Well, yeah. I mean, I enjoy all forms of comedy, really.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not saying
one
is better or the other. I'm just saying you enjoy one slightly more than.
It just depends on how it's portrayed.
Would you say this movie was more or less funny than, say, Tommy Boy?
I would say it's less funny.
Okay, see, I would say it's more funny. So that I think is a good illustration of it. Tommy Boy is very much silly, over the top kind of comedy, whereas this is very understated, dry wit comedy.
But like the thing that is funnier to me about Tommy Boy isn't really the Chris Farley aspect of it. It's more so the David Spade relation to it.
Well, yeah. Like, a good straight man can make or break a comedy scene.
Absolutely.
And David Spade is one of the best straight men.
Yeah.
No argument there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's just that dynamic really. And
don't catch me saying that Tommy Boy is a bad movie. I really like Tommy Boy. I think it's really funny.
Right.
I happen to think this movie is funnier.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Like specifically.
Yeah.
So it's I guess the style of comedy you prefer.
I guess. I mean, we can go into that, later on if we, do more comedies.
Well, yeah, totally. And we probably should.
Yeah.
Although one thing I have noticed about doing a podcast and kind of getting into how the sausage is made here, is that when it comes to reviewing a comedy, it's a lot harder than reviewing a drama or a thriller, because you really just kind of want to recount the jokes and explain why it was funny.
Yeah.
And that it makes for shorter reviews because there's not a whole lot to talk about if you're not going to recount all the jokes.
Right.
Like, I made it a point to point out a few of the really, what I thought were the funnier standout one-liners in this, and my delivery was awful. Seriously, the delivery of Jack Lemmon, James Garner, and Dan Aykroyd is top-notch, top drawer.
Yeah.
They are masters of their craft.
Right.
So please don't think that my butchering their jokes means their jokes were not funny. They delivered them really well.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, so you give this movie, you said a 5?
Yeah, I said a 5.
And I'd give this a solid 8.
Okay.
Solid 8. Yeah.
Yeah. You feel good with that?
I do. I really enjoy this movie. I think it holds up really well, a lot better than some of the other movies I enjoy.
I'm sure that some of my 8s will be your 5s.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Probably, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, probably. So anyway, guys, that is going to do it for the Doop Movie Podcast for this week. We do recommend, or I recommend, seeing My Fellow Americans if you're in the mood for a political comedy.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, if you're in the mood for a political comedy, I would just go watch The West Wing, but, you know.
I wouldn't call The West Wing comedy.
Well, not all the way, but, I mean, still.
I don't know. The West Wing has some of the best dramatic moments in television. I would love to do a West Wing, rewatch podcast.
Yeah, it's more like a dramedy, but, you know.
But, yeah, this has a lot of West Wing vibes to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And Sorkin said in interviews that, the part of Josh Lyman was written for Bradley Whitford because of his role in this movie.
Yeah.
Right? So it's sort of the same character.
Yeah.
Right? Very similar, except in this movie he's, a bastard, and in that movie, in West Wing, he's really a good dude.
Yeah.
But, that we're getting off in the weeds again.
Yeah.
I recommend this film really well. It's a 90s comedy, and it's very obviously a 90s comedy. And...
That's all she wrote.
Yeah, that's kind of all she wrote.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for us for this week, guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.